Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. It's me, Ryan 118, Ryan Fitzsimons, and I'm joined beside me by Mr. Ryan McGinley as we get ready to preview tomorrow night's game in the Europa League qualifiers. I've just off topic there, I just swallowed a bit of my own saliva and I went down the wrong way and I thought I was going to break into some coughing fit just at the tail end of the COVID, there it is, the COVID bonanza, but here we are. Right, there it is, here we are. As we get ready to play AZ Alkmaar in the Europa League qualifiers tomorrow. Celtic head to Holland with a 2-0 lead in a position which would be mostly favourable, but we know how Celtic like to perform in these sort of games. They never like to make life easy, Ryan. But look, if we're judging off last week, then let's be honest, Ryan, I'm very confident that Celtic can get the job done tomorrow night. It's, of course, a tough game, AZ aren't mugs. I think last week they showed, glimpses of a side that can cause Celtic a lot of bother as well. So it's gone into the game with a lot of precautions, yes, but a game that I think Celtic fans, with the way we're playing at the moment, can be rightly confident about.
Yeah, definitely. We played really well last week. Barring an absolute disaster, I think we'll get through the tie. But you know us, away from home in Europe, you can never really fully trust us. But at the same time, we've got every reason to be confident. We played really well against Jablonec away from home. I know Alkmaar is going to be quite a big jump in terms of quality, but we've got goals in us, and if we go out attacking, that's our best form of defence. I say it many times, but the attack is the best form of defence for this team. If we go out and get an early goal, then it should be curtains for Alkmaar, hopefully.
A lot of people giving you compliments in the chat about your nickname. It seems to have picked up quite well, Mystic McGinley. I mean, you've went from McGinley in the know, which was of course ironic, to Mystic McGinley. Your predictions haven't been that bad so far when you've been on these live previews. You've actually done quite a good job. So we'll get to that towards the end of the show. A couple of things very quickly before we move on with the preview. We are so close to 30,000 subscribers here on the channel, which is absolutely massive. So if you are watching live or when this has been posted as a video, please make sure and consider to press that subscribe button on the road to 30k. A massive week for Celtic. And also, if you haven't found out, me and McGinley, of course, both part of Talk Scottish Football. We've been nominated as a finalist for the Best International Podcast. It's still mad to say, really, isn't it? Best International Podcast at the Football Content Awards. So if you could, please head over to the Talk Scottish Football Twitter and look for the instructions on how to vote for us if you want us to win that award. So a couple of things for you to do there just before we get off onto this game. Ryan, a big week for Celtic. It's turned into a bigger week than normally it would be. Of course, we heard news from the other side of the city in regards to Rangers' position heading into a derby game. But of course, we've got to stay one game at a time sort of mindset. It's all about AZ first. It's about making the Europa League. I stressed the importance last week in my preview video that Celtic need to be in the Europa League. We're a side that should be ultimately aiming for the Champions League, but in failing that, we need to make the next best thing. We've landed ourselves in a pretty good position for that with a 2-0 lead. But this is a game that as well, I think, yeah, we could go and we could lose 1-0 and we still go through. But with the way the team are playing at the moment, I don't think we want our team to slow down. We want to continue scoring goals. We want to continue winning games. We want to be in the Europa League. And ultimately, we want to be heading into Sunday without the weight of maybe a loss in our mind from midweek.
Yeah, you want to keep that winning mentality. We've had that over the past 5-6 games. We'll get a wee bit of a winning streak. It's helped that a lot of our games have been at home as well, so we can build up that momentum. This is the deal. The first big test of the week. I think both games will be big tests in terms of where we're at under Ange Postecoglou. But I'm pretty confident that we can go and get the job done. It's important that we go out and we play our own game. I don't want to sit back. I don't think we'll sit back, but I don't want us to at the same time. We're going to need to just go out, play our game. We've got the attackers that have already hurt Alkmaar. We've got Abada coming back into this team. It's all pointing towards a positive Celtic result. I think even a draw wouldn't be the worst possible outcome because, you're still through and you've still not been beaten. So it's one of those ones. It'd be great to get a win, but I just want to get us through the group stage.
Thanks very much to Joe, who looks to be a Rangers fan, who's decided to donate £4.50. Thanks very much, Joe. Still pumped he's with the keeper. Well, we'll come on to that later in the week. Trust me, we've got a lot to cover. But thank you for the donation. even if you're a Rangers fan who enjoys the content, it's much appreciated. Yeah, I think that this game, you've talked about how this could be so far the biggest test under Ange Postecoglou. Like, we did well at home. We know that. We got a 2-0 win. That's brilliant. I think I asked for a 2-0 win in the preview. I predicted a 2-0 win, and we got that. I'm Mystic as well, of course. But this is the big test now, heading away from home against a side who is filled with some quality, who play in a top division, and who ultimately could match Celtic's sort of visions of being a Europa League side this season. So this ultimately could be the biggest test yet. The way I look at it though, Ryan, is yes, attack. If we go out there and we get the first goal, I honestly don't think there's much of a way back into the game for Alkmaar. If we go out there and score 2 goals, which Celtic are more than capable of, the tie is done. I don't think there's any way that Celtic, and I'm touching wood here because it could come back to bite me in the arse, but I just don't see a realistic possibility of Celtic conceding the likes of 4 goals tomorrow night. So if Celtic go out and score 1, 2, 3 goals, whatever, that kind of finishes off the tie for me. And we know our team's capable of that, Ryan. The way Abad is playing, the way Kyogo's playing, the way that Edouard is playing, there is goals in this Celtic side. And Ange Postecoglou, I don't think he's going to take any prisoners. He's not going to say sit back. He's going to want to go for this. He's going to go play the exact same. I think he's going to take that approach with every game that we play this season. No matter who we draw in the Europa League. We could be playing the teams from the Premier League. We could be playing teams from the Bundesliga. We could be playing anybody. And I think that's the way Ange wants to set up. He knows goals will win him the ties.
And quite right, because, we can sit back in games and still get beat at the same time. Why not just go out firing? I know Brendan Rodgers done that, but I mean, he didn't make any adjustments. He just tried to play the same football every game, and he get cuffed off with Barcelona. Don't get me wrong, playing with Barcelona and Man City was great. It's better than playing in the Europa League. But I think the Europa League's more our level now. The way that football's changed in terms of the landscape of the amount of money that's going around the game. I think the Europa League's our level. It's something that we can make a run in. The Conference League as well. If we were to finish 3rd place and go into the Conference League, I think we could go semi-final, final of that. You look at the teams. There are good teams there, but even Tottenham are struggling to get through the Conference League. But back to the Europa League, I'm trying to actually think about what you asked me. I
was just talking about Ange's approach to the game. I think they'll go out and he'll set out to attack from the start. I don't think there's going to be any holding back. I think from the first whistle. And thank you, by the way, very quickly to Connor Hall for £2 donation and Plexi Pox as well with the £2 donation. But we'll do more watch-alongs, probably not this season, not for competitive games. But, I don't see us going into a game and kicking off and not going for it. I don't see why he would suddenly change that, especially when he knows and he's seen last week that we are capable of cutting this side apart and getting in behind and scoring goals. We showed that we were good enough to do it. And we could do it. Just because we're away from home doesn't mean that becomes an improbability. That's still what Celtic are going to aim to do, I think.
I hope that we can break that hex as well when we're playing away from home. Like even last season under Lennon, we were scoring goals at Lille. We were scoring goals at the San Siro as well. These teams can be got at, and I don't think Alkmaar are on the level of those two teams either. There's definitely goals to be had. If we go out and play our game, I'm sure that we can get goals in this game. We showed that we can do it last week. Not really much difference away from home. We've got a more favourable away tie than the other team across the city, I would say. It's only Holland. So it suits us. If we get a couple of goals early doors, then I'll be absolutely happy. But, even if it's like a scored draw or something, then I'd be all right with that as well.
Yeah, I would take a draw. I think that a draw is a decent result, but you make a very valid point. I think Ange now, with the job that he's already done, it would be magnificent if he could turn around that sort of curse that we've had away from home in Europe. Now, I know we've had a couple of decent results in the last few years. We headed to Rome, obviously got a big result against Lazio. We beat Anderlecht over in Belgium in the Champions League as well. We've had a couple of decent results, but I think that we need results now away from home that can show that the team are confident enough and good enough to play there on a constant basis, not just one result every couple of years. I would like to see Celtic being able to do this because we've failed to do it in qualifying rounds. And that's bad enough. We need the confidence in into group stage rounds. And we're going to be playing tough teams in the Europa League. And it's teams that you don't want to write yourself off against. And if Celtic did show anything in a piss-poor season last year, Ryan, you're right. It's about scoring goals away from home. We can do it. But it just, those moments, those lapses of concentration, those bits of silliness, you cut that out. And I think Ange Postecoglou can. You're seriously talking about a side that can go away from home and cause a lot of teams bother, rather than being the one that's looked at as they have to lie down.
Yeah, definitely. I think we're one of those teams that could make a run in the Europa League this season if we were to get through the group stages and get through them as well. The way the team's playing, I think it will suit playing in Europe, especially away from home as well, with how attacking we are. I like the fact that we're going to play the same home and away, basically. It makes us more enjoyable to watch, and it makes us dangerous as well. Because I mean, if you look at teams when we're countering on them, it's like the cavalry's charging in front of defences. The amount of players we can push forward. So I mean, on tomorrow's game, I can't see us not scoring. We score in every other game. So what's the change here? We've got so many good attacking players that are on form as well. We've got the midfielders scoring as well, which is great. But at the same time, our strikers and wingers are scoring as well. So we're in a really good place. We're approaching this return leg in the best possible shape, I would say, because like if we'd have dropped points at the weekend, then I'd be feeling a lot less confident. Or if we hadn't have brought in some of the players that we've brought in, then I'd be feeling less confident as well. But we're in a really good place, and I'm really optimistic about the game.
It's madness how time heals things. We spoke about it in the first leg. You know, we kind of wrote ourselves off when the draw was done, but with a good bit of recruitment and Ange filling us with faith, you know, suddenly we're fancying ourselves, which is great. And right now we are a side that I can see competing in the Europa League. With a couple of more additions to this squad, we're still a bit thin. But I think if we do get deals done over the next week, we can certainly be there. We'll do a sort of 5-minute Q&A session at the end of the stream. So let's jump on to the last couple of segments before that, and I'll try and get as many of your guys, because I'm seeing a lot of questions piling in. I'd love to get round to them, and Ryan as well, I suppose. So we will get to that, but let's talk about Celtic and the team tomorrow. We've talked about the great depth of attacking players we do have that could cause issues. Let's run through what our ideal starting 11 would be tomorrow, Ryan. Now, the only sort of notable omissions, I think, from the squad that are being murmured is, I think, James McCarthy and James Forrest. I think we're hearing that they might not be available for tomorrow's game. Certainly players that in recent times, well, not so much McCarthy because we barely know him yet, but Forrest, I think we've seen in recent times, we don't need to, it's not as big a worry as what it would have been this time last year, as it was all of last year.
This was the thing about, remember we were making this point about Forrest when we were linked with Abada. We were making the point that he cannot be like relied on to stay fit throughout a season, and you've seen that already. That's better preparation. That wouldn't have happened last season, the season before. We would have just relied on Forrest, and now we've got Abada, who's, I think he's better than Forrest personally. I think he's a better player, or a better option. I know it's bold, but you know, 19 years old, what a player. I'm a big Abada fan. But you know, it's good that we've got that position. We've got depth in that position. But on you go, sorry.
Yeah, well, we'll go through our team. I think in goals is a pretty unanimous decision. Vasilius Barkas to start in there.
Goals, bring him back.
Bring him back. Joe Hart in goals, I think, tomorrow night. He's came into the squad. He's been great. He's been everything we sort of needed in terms of a leader aspect of things. He's certainly filled, I think, the team in the back line with a lot more confidence. So I think we're both pretty set on that. Right back, Juranovic isn't available yet for Celtic. He could be available for Sunday, I believe, but he will not be available tomorrow. He's not registered for this tie. So Tony Ralston, Ryan, he's a guy that's not put a foot wrong recently. It'd be harsh to take that spot away from him, even if Juranovic was fit. So I think we're both in agreement there. Centre halves, who's the pairing you would go for? Would it be the same Starfelt and Welsh partnership we've seen as of late?
Yeah, it would make no sense to sort of split them up again. I don't see Beaton kicking a ball again for Celtic unless an absolute injury crisis happens. I just don't see where his next appearance is coming from. So it's got to be Welsh and Starfelt for me.
Left back will be Greg Taylor, I'd imagine. I don't see why that would change either. A guy who's been all right as well recently. A bit of an improvement in what we first expected, but an area that I think we still need to improve on, to say the least.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, this is where it gets interesting. This is where the discussion begins. Will Ange go for that same three that we've been getting used to recently? Will it be Rogic? Will it be Gregor? Will it be Turnbull? Will that be the three? Do you think there will be any changes in the middle three tomorrow, Ryan?
Now, I don't know, because obviously the Forrest injury, if he isn't playing tomorrow, then I would expect Christie to play out in the left wing. If not, then Forrest would have played there, which makes me think that he probably will keep it the same in the middle, with Turnbull, McGregor and Rogic. I don't know about Rogic in an away game. Do you know, I mean, he didn't start the game on Saturday, so he'll be perfectly fit for this game. So I would probably have that midfield three. Now, I was making the point I was making a point last week that we need some defensive stability, but our best form of defence is attack. I've said it 4 or 5 times. It's the best way we play, but I feel like if we were to put Sorrow in there, he would take away from our attack a wee bit. I like the options we've got in midfield just now, so why not just go to Holland and give it a go?
And then the front three. This has been one of the juiciest parts of the season, predicting what Celtic's front three could be. It's been filling us with joy. It's been filling us with goals. We've got Christie, we've got Abada, we've got Kyogo, we've got Edouard. Forrest could have been an option, but looks like he might not be tomorrow. We're spoiled for choice at the minute. We could be seeing Giakoumakis, if that's how it's pronounced, coming in. So, yeah, what front three would you go for? I think personally, if I was picking, I would like to see maybe Christie go back in that left-hand side, but I do like what Edouard's giving us at the moment. I don't, but I think if it was me, I'd be going Christie, Kyogo, Abada.
It's difficult because it's an away game as well, and I associate Edouard with big away games. He's got that sort of performance in him, but you lose something when you play Kyogo out in the left wing. I think he is a natural striker, or that sort of like he's more. I don't know. He's got more technical.
The way
ability,
his movement. He's moving. I don't even know if I'd stretch to say he's got more technical ability, because I think Edouard's technical ability is.
It's different technical
I think
ability.
though, I think that the natural striker really comes out in his movement and his initiative to get in and around different areas, and I think he notices a lot more and is willing to do a lot more off the ball than what Edouard normally would. And that's not me giving Edouard the kind of the slack for that and saying that he doesn't do enough off the ball. I think that they're just both completely different players, where Edouard's focusing on getting the ball, Kyogo is focusing on getting into different areas that could cause issues for the defence, and they're taking their eyes off him for a moment.
In fact, can I make a point? Because I want to actually change my team.
Go on.
I want to put Christie as the number 10, play Edouard out on the left, and Kyogo up front.
Okay,
that's what I'd like to see.
Would you? Nice. That's not a bad shout. Could be a free. Would you drop Rogic then from your team tomorrow night?
I think he's a perfect sub to bring on, to be honest. 60 minutes in, the team's tiring. He's your worst nightmare. You seen that in the St Mirren game at the weekend. All the St Mirren players looked absolutely gutted when Rogic was coming on, because a Rogic on form for half an hour is your worst nightmare, because he can just embarrass you basically. Edouard's played out in the left before. He done that when he came on against Rangers in that 3-2 game when we went down to 10 men. He's good in that position. He can play that, and he cuts in from that side as well when he's playing. So I think it'd be better for Kyogo to play in the middle. You lose out a wee bit when he plays out wide, and he can be as influential. He can be even more influential through the middle.
I like that. I like your shout, to be honest, and I would not mind it whatsoever. I'm going to stick with Rogic in at the kind of number 10, if you like, if we're calling it the number 10. And I think it'll be Christie, Kyogo, and Abada. I think we'll see Edouard come onto the pitch undoubtedly. I think he'll make his way on in a week that we question whether or not he'll be seeing himself out as a Celtic player. We don't really know. We'll come on to that. So let's get on to the big part, the part you've been enjoying recently, the Mystic McGinley special. Ryan, what is the score going to be tomorrow night in Holland between AZ Alkmaar and Celtic?
2-1.
2.
I think it'll be 2-1 Celtic.
2-1 to Celtic. Fair enough. Okay. I am going to go for a 2-2 draw. I think we're going to draw the game. Do you know what? Deep down, I think we're going to win it, but I'm just going to play safe and go for a 2-2 draw, because away from home in Europe, I've still got that apprehension and still got that fear, you know?
So would this be like we're 2-0 up and then we concede 2 goals, or is this them 2-0 up and then, or what way are you thinking?
I think that AZ will take the lead, we'll equalise, we'll take the lead, and then they'll equalise. That's my predicting.
See, I don't mind that. A wee bit of a topsy-turvy game, as long as there's no real threat to us going through. I'd be quite happy with that.
Nice. I like that. Okay, fair play. Right, we'll go for 5 minutes, because McGinley's got work in, I think, 20 minutes time. So we'll get 5 minutes of your questions. Fire them in. We'll get answering, and we'll have a look at what you want us to talk about the last 5 minutes of stream. In fact, everybody, we've got over 270 viewers at the moment. This will be obviously available to watch if you have missed the show. If you've missed any part of the show, you want to watch it back, it will be on the channel to watch. So get your questions in, and that's how we'll finish off the show. One thing I do want to talk about is Asio Rigidi. He was getting involved in the Haley Williams patter.
Mental, absolutely mental. We have truly gone full circle, and we live in a society, that is for sure. This is absolutely mental that Uragidi now knows who Haley Williams is because of Spunkphone's influence. So,
Yes.
Spunkphone, he is truly one of the greats. Haley Williams is one of the greats. I guess Osazi Uragidi is now one of the greats as
Well,
well.
on that note, Anthony Devine has asked, will we see Osazi at any point this season? I have a feeling he'll be exclusively around in and around the B team this season. I don't see much of a chance of him getting in the Celtic squad, the first team squad this year.
I think the jury's still out on him, and I don't think it helped that he played right back in that game. That kind of soured a lot of people's opinions on him because he really isn't a right back. The one thing that stood out to me, he has no sort of defensive positioning whatsoever. That needs to get drilled into him because he went chasing after the ball a couple of times in the pre-season games. And I don't know if that's because he was too keen or it's just a lack of I don't know, a lack of footballing IQ or something. I don't want to say that because I really like the guy. But
Matthew Duff's raised a point. He's too old for the B team except cup games. They're allowed a couple of exceptions though, aren't they? To the B teams, they're allowed to bring in, I think, one or two players that are older. I'm sure.
I'm not too sure.
No, I don't even have a clue. I'm talking like my arse, to be honest. We'll move on to the next question anyway, because don't want to dominate the whole show around that issue at the moment. Would you take the Conference League? Asked Jordan, and if we were to fall into it, how far would you expect us to get? Personally, I'm going to just be honest. I'm going to be blunt about it. I'd be very disappointed to be in the Conference League. At this point, if we finish third in a Europa League group that's tough, then fair play. I'll take it then. I'd be very disappointed if we do get to it, as you mentioned earlier on, Ryan. I'd hopefully be looking at a Celtic side that can make at least semi-finals of that competition.
Yeah, do you know it could be one of those ones that we really benefit out of being in that competition? If we have, it depends on the group that we get drawn. If we get into Europa League, see if we're playing some really big teams, and they look like they're going to take first and second, I would take third if it meant that we could go on a prolonged run in the Conference League. Sorry, I'm yawning like hell here.
Don't worry.
After Christmas, we could get a favourable draw, and then all of a sudden you're making inroads into latter stages of a European competition. Doesn't matter what European competition you play in. If you're in there or thereabouts, March, April time, you can dare to dream, and it's another trophy to be won. And it's one that I think Celtic could win. You look at the teams that are about already, and then the teams that would maybe go into the third place. It's definitely a competition that Celtic could do some damage in. I think if we were to get through, you'd be looking at, I would be wanting a quarter-final, semi-final. Look, I know that sounds really, really optimistic, but Angie's got me feeling optimistic, so why not?
How many more signings would you both like? Well, very quickly, I just never want to see Celtic become a Conference League side at this point. They should. No, I want us back to Champions League. That's my point. But if we get through after Christmas, that's okay. No, Ryan, don't shake your head away. Don't shake your head. Don't settle for shite.
I know.
We're former European Cup winners, right? Let's set our fucking heights high now.
So are Red Star. So are Red Star.
Aye, and Red Star are getting into the Champions League. They were in the Champions League a couple of years ago. And they were competing as well. They were causing issues. Yeah, I should be Celtic.
Yeah, still Bucharest as well. This happens. It's
well.
It's about the here and now. I love to talk about 40, 50 years ago, but it's the here and now as well.
Aye, fuck them. How many more signings would you like before the end of the window? I want 4. But big ask, but I want 4. I want 4 signings, ideally.
I want 4 plus Lovric. I'm going to mention him every stream until we get him.
Yes.
Obviously, if the transfer window shuts, then I won't be talking about him because that'd just be weird speaking about a Gorica player for 3-4 months until the transfer window opens again. But the guy, he's there for the taking. Now, I know the deal sort of fell through for his replacement at his parent club, but do you know what? See, if we get through to the Europa League, we need a left winger anyway. Christie, for as good as he is in that left wing, he's a number 10. He's not a left winger. I want him playing in his natural position. And we will need that position sorted one way or another because I don't think Christie will stay beyond maybe the summer. So I want us to be in a position that we've got that sort of side sorted. So it makes sense. We're getting to Europa League. Let's put a bid in for him.
If the Greek striker doesn't sign for Celtic, who could you see Celtic going for before the close of the transfer window?
Nisbet.
It's
got to be Nisbet. If it isn't Jack and Nisbet, if it isn't, did I say Giacomakis there? I was saying the two
Aye.
at the one time there. If it isn't Giacomakis, what a player the two of them would be put together, by the way.
Oh,
If it isn't Giacomakis, then it's got to be Kevin Nisbet, because he doesn't need to isolate as well. So he can shoot in and do a job straight away, which would be great.
Let's think. Is there another Celtic the Thunder episode this week? Well, Stuart, you keep your eyes peeled because hopefully there will be. So we'll wait and see what happens there. Let's see. We'll get a couple of more questions in before we get to the end of the show. We are heading up to the nearly the half-hour mark. So, anything? Who else would you sign from the SPA? Off the top of my head, I don't think there's many people that I can think. I
don't think I would sign anyone. I don't think I would sign anyone else other than Nisbet.
Lewis Ferguson, maybe.
To be fair, before I was on the Lovrich sort of bandwagon, I was on the Lewis Ferguson bandwagon. But you see now, I'd much rather have what's his name? I'd much rather have Cal McGregor on that team than Lewis Ferguson. Cal McGregor's just came back like a player reborn. Now I know Ferguson would be really good in this team, but I don't want that at the expense of Cal McGregor or David Turnbull or even Tom Rogic. Calvin Ramsey's another one, actually. We need to keep a close eye on him at Aberdeen.
Good shout.
He looks an absolute flare.
Yep. Planet Celtic, does Bolingoli deserve a chance? This game would suit Ange's play style.
He probably deserves a chance. He's not really had much of one, but I don't see him getting a chance now. I still see a solution either out on loan or permanently being made this coming week, to be honest, because he's nowhere near the team. It seems that Ange wants to play Montgomery over him as a sort of backup.
And Owen asks, we'll use this as the last question. Owen asks, do you think Joe Hart will be important tomorrow? He's got to have a big game because AZ will have chances. They had chances at Celtic Park and they didn't take them. And a couple of them were great saves by Joe Hart to add into that.
Yeah.
I think tomorrow night is a big test of Joe Hart's confidence.
Yeah, definitely. Do you know, if he hadn't made that save, it would have been a completely different game and we couldn't have had the sort of... I don't know if we would be going into the game with 2 clear goals ahead of Alkmaar if it wasn't for that save with his feet. It just shows you how important it is a goalkeeper is making saves, especially in a European tie. It's going to be another massive night for Joe Hart, but it's these nights that he's thrived on throughout his career, and he seems to be going through a wee bit of a rebirth at Celtic. So he'll be wanting to sort of turn the clock back a wee bit as well and do one of those vintage performances, because one of the best goalkeeping performances I've ever seen was when Joe Hart was playing against Borussia Dortmund in the Westland Stadium. He was absolutely incredible.
I remember it. Sadly. Right, okay, that does it. It'll bring us to the end of the show, Ryan. I'll let you get away to your work as we approach the half-hour mark. Anyway, thank you to everybody who's came to watch the preview show tonight with me and Ryan live. I do like doing these live because it gives you a little more chat than what I would normally do with the 10 minutes myself, so I decided to do it a little bit different. If you are new around here, as I said, we're nearly at 38,000 subscribers, so please make sure to hit that subscribe button and get all your friends and family and Celtic fans and anybody else as well involved with the channel as we get to that massive landmark. Hopefully hit it in this big week for Celtic. Thank you everybody for watching, and from me and Ryan, we'll see you all next time.